Good evening and welcome to Read All Over YouTube, episode number 39. Can you believe we've done that many, John?
No, it surprises me that we've kept it going that long. Yeah,
Yeah, number
yeah.
39.
We've,
Tonight,
almost soap opera style.
it's getting that way, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah,
Um, Tonight, big news about how Read All Over the Land will celebrate the 60th birthday of Liverpool's first FA Cup win and how you could be part of it. Is it too early to talk about the quadruple? And a look inside the latest issue of Liverpool's longest lasting and only surviving fanzine. I'm Graham Mack, and I'm here with the editor of Read All Over the Land, John Pearman. Good evening, John.
good evening.
And our special guest, lifelong Liverpool fan, Graham Stewart. How are you, Graham?
Good evening, Graham. Good evening, John. I'm fine, thanks. Thanks for
Good to
inviting
see
me
you.
on to the show.
No worries at all. We'll start with you, John. And the latest issue of Read All Over the Land is out there. How many years now has this been going?
This is our 30th. We celebrate the 30th birthday come November.
Right. So the latest issue is out. What can you tell us about what's in it? That's the cover right there.
Well, it's the usual mixture of whatever you want to call it. Depends who's reading it.
It's the voice of the fans. Yeah.
Yeah. Most of the fans. We've got somebody now from America called who comes under the term of Mankwatch. He does some cryptic comments about Manchester United's ownership and where they're trying to raise all the money from for their I won't call it new stadium, but conversion, and also a sort of a like tongue-in-cheek look back to when Manchester City basically was serfs by comparison to Manchester United.
Yeah.
There's also the usual cryptic version of going to the match, the games that we could get to over January, and all the usual articles, covering a whole range of things.
Good stuff. Get it now. You can get it at the match. You might even be able to buy it from John or one of the other fanzine sellers. If you can't get to the match, you can subscribe. Go to readallovertheland.com, get more information there, and find out how you can subscribe and get it in your mailbox so you don't even have to leave the house. It's a brave new world, isn't it, John?
It is a brave new world. Yes, we try.
Yeah.
I've never been quite sure how brave the new world is for me, but you know.
All right. Graham Stewart, how did you become a Liverpool fan?
Oh, good question. A lot was down to my father, who was a lifelong Liverpool supporter. So probably like many other young people, the influences. Actually, my first game, believe it or not, was at Goodison Park. My godfather, who was a diehard Evertonian, tried to brainwash me at a very early age, and he took me to see Everton against Blackpool in a very drab 0-0 draw. Well, that was the last time I went with him, and never looked back.
And that
since,
was all. That was all
fortunately.
it took to make you go, "I'm going to be a Liverpool fan."
Well, more or less. More or less. Looking back now, I don't know what was going through my dad's head. I think he must have been traveling away on one of his trips or something. But that was not a nice introduction.
Well, the thing is, drab 0-0 draws still happen at Goodison.
Yeah,
That's true.
yeah.
Yeah.
Not for much longer. Drab 0-0 draws will be happening at their new stadium, the one that the council helped to pay for. Anyway, less said about that, the better. Because your dad started watching Liverpool like way back, didn't he?
Yes, yeah. His first game was 1943. His dad took him to see Liverpool against Everton. I think Liverpool won 2-1.
5-2 in the book.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
this
it.
is,
Well, yeah.
and it's an absolute
and
brilliant book with a chapter on Liverpool. And the first game, Liverpool versus Everton, 16th of October 1943. I actually know that because where I stand is next to your dad's stone, and outside the stadium. Yeah, and he says Liverpool won 5-2, but because it was in the war years, both teams had a few guest players. So yeah, and this book is fascinating. Graham gave me a copy, and I've read quite a lot about a fanatical Liverpool supporter, which is how his dad describes himself.
Is the book still
He
available,
was,
Graham?
yeah. It is, yeah. You can search for it online. It's called Tales of the Chemistry Lounge. He actually, around the early 90s, he was a member of the executive club with Liverpool FC in the main stand. He was quite good friends with the chairman at the time, John Smith, and he ran a successful business. And well, I mean, he'd served his time through the boys' pen on the Cop in the main stand, and he took out a ticket for the executive club and made many friends there. Some of them are mentioned in the book. Good friends with Brian Quinn, Dougie Peake, Joe Muscatelli, amongst others, and they have a lot of ex-Liverpool players coming along to the Chemistry Lounge, as it's called now, and it's a really nice atmosphere and a nice afternoon if you ever get the chance to go.
And you used to see
Anyway,
Graham's dad, didn't you, John?
Sorry?
Graham's dad used to come and see you before the games, didn't he?
Oh yeah, because when it was the old main stand at the time, and he'd come and see me before a game and purchase 5 copies or whatever of the fanzine. And I think the first time I said, "It's not the program," he says, "I know that," and he used to give them out to his guests in the what is now the Chemistry Lounge. And the other time, of course, there was also a marquee when the stand was being converted and the lounges were closed, and he used to take them into there. And I said, "What do you do?" He said, "Well, instead of letting them have a program, I give them a copy of this." And when the main stand was newly built, I found halfway along was the stone. I knew this one. I mean, people have asked me if I know where their stone is, but I found it, and I stand there every game. And I don't mind saying it sounds a bit silly, but I always say hello when I arrive.
Nice.
And when Liverpool won the European Cup against Spurs, I went and sat next to that stone before the game just to have a chat.
Right. Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, I remember your article, John, of the Barcelona game.
That's right. Yeah.
Where we came back from 3-0 down in Barcelona quite miraculously, and I mean, I cut that article out and sent it round to the partners that he had in the company, in the business. He had a lot of friends. He converted, made a lot of Liverpool supporters, through him being a fanatical supporter, and you'd be amazed at the number of Liverpool fans who are out there connected in some way to him and our company. A lot in Switzerland, a lot in South America, and actually in Argentina. You can see virtually every Premier League game. Whenever I've been over there, I've never missed a Liverpool game. I've got some good friends in Argentina. A friend called Mariano, who's a big Boca Juniors fan, and he watches all of the Liverpool games at home. In fact, when Liverpool finally did win the World Club Championship, I was over there, visiting my family. My wife's from Argentina. On the second day, I'd found online somewhere to watch it, and there's actually a Liverpool supporters club in Buenos Aires, Argentina. So I went along with my friend Mariano and his son to this bar in Palermo, Soho, which is it's quite a bohemian area of Buenos Aires. And there must have been about 50 Liverpool supporters watching Liverpool against Flamengo. Was it? Yeah, Flamengo. And
it was an amazing afternoon to watch it, and they're so passionate about football over there. There was quite a few. Well, it was an Irish guy, Kieran Culhane, who ran the Liverpool supporters club in Argentina, and there was a few expats, but mostly Argentines and South Americans. And it was like being in what can I say, the Arcos or the 12th Man or the Albert in Buenos Aires. Well, it was good enough for me anyway, and we were all bouncing and cheering.
And while you were in Argentina, you used to write articles for the Fanzine too, didn't you?
As Boca Red.
Sorry, I've lost you there a little bit, unfortunately.
I was just saying, Graham, when you were in Argentina, you used to write articles for the Fanzine.
That's right. Well, yeah, in the early days when I think Read All Over the Land had just gone online. It was the early days of the internet. And it was one way for me. I moved over there, worked over there from 1998 to 2001. And it was one way for me to kind of keep in touch with everything that was going on at Liverpool and with the fans. And it was, it was quite novel and unique at the time, and a good laugh. So I actually, I remember, I don't know whether it made the hard copy of Read All Over the Land, but I remember writing like a report or an article on the Super Classico game, River Plate against Boca Juniors, in I think it was 1998, and the likes of Pablo Aimar, Juan Pablo Angel, Javier Saviola were playing for River Plate, and then on the Boca team they had Martin Palermo, Juan Roman Riquelme, who's the big idol over there, another good player, Scalotto, the twin brothers, Gustavo and Guillermo Scalotto, and I went along with a friend, and it was just, well, it was the most passionate, explosive atmosphere of a football game I've ever been in. Absolutely amazing. River Plate won 2-0. What was what can I say? It was scary, really, because when the second goal went in the Boca end of the sports, there must have been about 20,000 of them. These bonfires started to appear up on the height, on the balcony, on the terraces, and there must have been about 10 to a dozen separate bonfires raging as the game was being played, and it created this kind of pall of smoke and a roof of grey smoke from the fires. And next minute, from the side entrance, 2 fire engines appear and start driving around the running track at the Monumental Stadium, heading towards the Boca end. And then the hoses come out and they're spraying the Boca fans to try to extinguish the fires. And I'd never seen anything like it in my life, and I never will. So, I mean, I had to put all this down in writing. I haven't been on the Read All Over the Land website for a good while. But I mean, I had to make a report, and it was quite something at the time.
I actually think I did cut and paste it. Yeah, at the time, however I did it, I did use it. Yeah. So,
well, your dad,
I seem to remember. So it was quite something. It caused quite a lot of interest on the website. You know, it's kind of an old-fashioned way of communicating. It's not like WhatsApp. There was nothing instant. It was just a message, and then somebody put the reply on. So it was ended up like a string of, I don't know, 150 messages reading down.
Was that the old GeoCities site, John? For Read All Over
John
the
Mackin. John Mackin set this up. John was still is pretty good at setting these things up. It was his job, and he set up what was at the time one of the first websites for a fanzine. Because
Well, I think this was before Liverpool Football Club had an official website, wasn't it? Yeah, the fanzine had a Liverpool Football Club website before Liverpool Football Club had one.
So, and what John did was he also set something up, and it was an offshoot, and this is where I think the article appeared, called The Rattle. So
That's it.
The articles used to appear on The Rattle. The Rattle, I think, may still go, but I don't go there now because of various reasons.
Yeah.
It
was the Rattle, John. That's right.
Yeah, and we took I used to take any. Nowadays, people will email me things, obviously, but then even emails were pretty new. Unless you've got a business. So I used to take. People used to put them on the Rattle, and then I'd take them and put them in the fanzine. Things have changed.
Yeah. But Graham, your dad's name lives on in the fanzine. The back page of the fanzine is always the advert for the company, and if I get that right, there it is. It says Alex Stewart Food Test Lab. So it's all.
That's right. Thanks for the plug there, Graham. Yeah,
it's all right. Well, not only does he live on as a stone at Anfield, but the advert on the back of the fanzine, every single issue.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a little bit of fun. Thinking something new every edition. It's been a good something enjoyable. And John sends me a dozen copies, and I distribute them to some of the guys at work, and the Liverpool supporters, and a few others, some other friends as well. But yeah, I try to freshen it up with a new idea. Every edition, some kind of song.
There's one on this one.
We did one.
There's this one. I think has got "Come All You Faithful." Is that the one?
That one, yeah.
Well, that was the special Christmas edition, and I thought we'd bring the that great song to the forefront again.
Yeah. Well, you certainly did that. Yeah, no, it's good. It's good. I enjoy having it. It just finishes off the nice read through the fanzine. Nice at the back there. There's just something on there. It's good.
Well, the latest one's got Diego Jota's song on. We've had
great.
We had Luis Diaz, didn't we?
Yep, that was straight after the Forest game, so that was justified in the moment. So yeah, I'll be working on a few more. Just a plug to Andy Cotliff, who does the graphics on that. He does all the graphics and designs for advertising for our company. And he also helped out on Andy Marsden's book on the LFC programs. I've known Andy for quite a long time, and he introduced me to Andy Marsden when he was putting his amazing book together. And again, the company sponsored it and took some copies as well I think we took about 30 copies because, as I say, my dad, made a lot of Liverpool supporters within his business. So there's copies.
If you took 30 copies, did you get them in a crate? Because I mean, it's
that's right.
Kilos each copy. If I need something needs flattening, I put Andy's book on top of it.
No, it wasn't a crate, and I think there's a copy of that book in all corners of the world. There's several in Argentina, in Chile, in Bolivia, in Peru, in Ukraine, Odessa, Ukraine, China. So we try our best to keep everything going and involved.
Well, it's great to have you on the show, Graham, and I hope you can join in with the stuff that we talk about tonight, because there are no formal rules. We'll just talk about whatever, and if you've got something to say, just jump in.
Pleasure.
Yeah. I'm going to start with you, though, John. Since last Read All Over YouTube, you've been to Worcester.
Yes, I went to Worcester. Bear with me and I'll turn around and get these latest books. And January the 15th, 1959, was possibly on the football field, Liverpool's most embarrassing day, other than getting beat by Everton. They lost 2-1 to Worcester City. And at that time, Liverpool were a second division team, but they were on a winning run. I think it was of 6 or 7 games. They were second in the table.
And Worcester were non-league, obviously.
Worcester was Southern League.
Okay.
So, and the pitch was played on the game. The original game was set for the Saturday, the 10th, I think it was. But unfortunately, the pitch was frostbound, so they couldn't play. So the game was moved to the Thursday, and kicked off at 2:15 in the afternoon. And they got around 16, 17,000 there. That's an estimated crowd, because back then people did sometimes find of getting into a ground without paying. And Worcester City beat Liverpool 2-1. Liverpool, well, just after Worcester had gone 2-0 up, Liverpool did score through a penalty from Jeff Twentyman, and then but there was only a couple of minutes to go and they couldn't find the equaliser. So there was a rumour, there's been a story, it's a bit of a myth, that that game resulted in Phil Taylor, the then Liverpool manager, eventually being sacked and replaced by Shankly. But that wasn't true, because the game, he remained as Liverpool's manager for another 10 months. And when he did leave, it was more through the strain of not being able to get Liverpool out of Division 2 than anything else. Because he was a bit of a hero at Liverpool. He was the captain of the side that had been in the cup final in 1950 when we lost to Arsenal. And then he became manager. And he was also part of the side, I think, that won the title in 46-47. But I spoke to Graham about this, and he's not sure whether his dad went, but I'm sure he would have gone on the Saturday, because there's about 4,000 Liverpool fans were going to make the trek to Worcester. And in fact, did make the trek to Worcester, because, of course, then there was no internet, nothing or anything like that, as we all know. So they only found out the game was off when they arrived in Worcester. But it was the most.
Did your dad ever talk about that game, Graham?
He did. He did talk about it, and he did talk about it in the sense what John's just mentioned, that it being some kind of turning point for the club. He didn't. I know he didn't rate Phil Taylor, I don't think. And it wasn't, he always used to say it wasn't until Shankly, did things start really turning around and happening at Liverpool Football Club. I mean, his great hero was Billy Liddell. That was his idol growing up. And then, obviously when Shankly came along, that was it.
And in Worcester, John, you went to Worcester because they celebrate this victory annually, do they?
Oh, I think they do, yes. Well, they actually had dinner on. They had a little lunch on at the pub. I think it was called the Swan.
And they invited you to represent Liverpool Football Club?
Me. Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. And there's a guy there who lives there, not a Worcester fan, named Mick Donovan. He's actually an Evertonian. But he'd done this dissertation, do they call it, all on Shankly. And you can see, if you read, it's actually typing, how he's typed it all out.
Right.
And it's the story of Shankly becoming Liverpool's manager, and all about how he worked. It's pretty interesting. And it's all about, he did interviews with people like Steve Highway and all that, got their take on what Shankly was like. So that's some reading I've got to do over the next few weeks.
And what was the night like then, John?
Oh, it was a lunchtime. It was a bit chaotic. The train I was on was on time, and I thought, this is great. Everything's working out fine. Then we got to, I think it was Wolverhampton, and the train had to stop because somebody had jumped in front of a train down near Milton Keynes.
Oh, no.
So all train. In fact, what was going to be a 2 to 3 hour lunch ended up being a quick snack and in about an hour.
Right.
But I'll be covering it in the next issue of the fanzine. But
Great,
yeah,
so we can hear all about it.
was,
Yeah.
but there's still people there. Obviously, they were all like my age, so these lads would have been 12 at the time, and they were at school, and a lot of the schools closed because of the game. And people, it was also, and the reason it was played on a Thursday was because Thursday was half day closing in Worcester.
Right.
So that the shopkeepers could go, but some of the lads had to go to school, still had to go to school because they didn't get the afternoons off. But they said they could hear the noise from the ground. The ground's no longer there, sadly. But Worcester City is still functioning and playing the Northern Premier League. So, yeah, they're still functioning.
Right,
Yeah.
and then they...
great people, great to meet with them, and good to have a chat. And I'm hoping that when we celebrate the 60th anniversary of Liverpool winning the FA Cup, that they will come and join us.
Oh, great. Well, more on that, on what's happening with Red All Over the Land on that, because that is something to look forward to. Let's talk about now, though, just for the minute. Is it too early to talk about the quadruple? Start with you, Graham.
Well, I certainly haven't started thinking or talking about it with anybody personally online. I'm personally, I like, the old cliche, one game at a time, boring though it might sound. Starting with tonight, get the hopefully a good win in Eindhoven, and then big important game against Bournemouth coming up. I think we can win that. I'm pretty positive at the moment about certainly about the way we're playing. I think we've come through a bit of a sticky patch in December and January. There's so many games, the odd injury. They look tired against Tottenham, in particular in the League Cup. I don't think Tottenham deserve to win, particularly. They nicked that goal at the end. The United game in the first half, I thought we were sluggish. But Slott's management of the team has been excellent. I think he's possibly underused Harvey Elliott a little bit, although he seems to be coming on a little bit more in the last few games. But I like the way that he's, keeping the players fit by playing them. Loved Jurgen and everything. But I think Slot, he reminds me of Bob Paisley, the way that he's going about things and his selections. He's not using that many players, but he's substituting very, very wisely, very efficiently, managing the games well. Even the way that they're playing the game, building up slowly from the back with Virgil and Canate or whoever his partner is. It reminds me of back in the Bob Paisley's early days with Phil Thompson, Alan Hansen, Emlyn, and then obviously later with Mark Lawrenson. And the midfielders are getting more goals. We look more likely to score from the midfield.
Szoboszlai is looking superb at the minute, isn't he?
Yes, I think that was missing a little bit during Jurgen's years. We relied a lot on the front three. So yeah, I'm positive about the games coming up. They're ceaseless, aren't they? Relentless at the moment. It's just game after game. So, but the way things are going and the way that he's managing and steering the team, I'm reasonably confident at the moment.
So you think there is a chance of the quadruple then?
You never know. I just want the Premiership. Anything after that is a bonus. I think we'll beat Spurs, Newcastle at Wembley. Well, let's just take that as if it comes. I think Spurs are already. I saw something online last week. Spurs are already booking their stadium to beam the League Cup final against Newcastle live. I think they're getting ahead of things as usual down at White Hart Lane. So I think we can if we can do the business against Spurs, we'll be there against Newcastle, and let's bring all that on.
John,
Well,
the quadruple.
Maybe we can go to Tottenham's ground and watch the final. My view is I 100% along with Graham. I take one game at a time, and although I will say at this moment in time, I'm not too worried about tomorrow night. Whatever team Arnie decides to send out, he's got. I think if you read between the lines, he looks like he's going to be playing some of the more than the fringe players that he would do in a European game. The thing is, you can look at tomorrow night. I've not even bothered doing this, but way up, Feyenoord could knock somebody out by finishing in a certain position. That's how this league works. So, yeah, I mean, I tomorrow night I'm expecting a lot of changes. I'm expecting Endo to play. I'm expecting Chiesa to play. Nunes to play, and Harvey Elliott definitely, and I do think Harvey Elliott's been underused. But what people have to remember about Harvey is he's 21. He's still basically a young lad. But I want to see him playing more, getting more time. But you've got the midfield on Saturday. It was masterful at times. I mean, it was boring because we had the ball so much. I mean, I can remember one time in the same against Brentford. There was one time when Virgil and Canate were playing in midfield. They were playing sort of like 25 yards outside the Brentford and Ipswich penalty areas. They were picking up the cleared ball and putting it back in. I mean, Ipswich scored. I mean, they scored in the last minute. I think we'd switched. We'd got Harvey Elliott marking somebody who was about 6'10", and it didn't work quite as it should have done, or it did. But yeah, it was if we played, I thought, at half paced almost from the start. Once we got a couple of goals, it was foregone conclusion. And as I say, it was Ipswich just didn't they didn't know where the ball was at times.
Well, for a lot of the game, it wasn't like we were playing in their half. We were playing in the final third. It looked like.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. It was that's where Virgil and Ibu was playing. They were actually. I mean, Robertson and Trent obviously playing further forward, but they were like the midfield, and it was incredible. But just to see it. However, I think Bournemouth at this moment in time, Bournemouth are. If you looked at it, Bournemouth the last 3 games, they beat Manchester United at Old Trafford. They beat 3-1. They beat Newcastle at St James 4-1. And they beat Nottingham Forest 5-0. And that game didn't get mentioned in this house for obvious reasons of being married into a Forest family. Yeah. But I think it got, you haven't mentioned our game. I said, no, I thought waiting for you. But but in the title race, my view is I look at it this way. I still do not rule out Manchester City.
No. And they've been spending money, haven't they?
Yeah. I agree, John. I wouldn't rule out Manchester City. Let's hope they rule themselves out, though. Yeah, 5 signings in January. It's very easy for them. And for me, it's not good for the league. It's just carrying on and continuing with potentially what they're under scrutiny for.
You're talking about the wages cap thing, the
150 charge.
Yeah.
The charges, yeah. I mean, they can literally buy their way out of trouble in this case. It's unusual for them, but they've bought their way to success repeatedly. And yeah, these are panic buys in some ways, as Jamie Carragher is saying. But I agree with John. I wouldn't rule them out at this stage. They can put I think everybody knows that they can string a run of games. A key game will be when we go to City, and we can get a good result there. I think that'll set us up for the run in.
Well, the way I've looked at it, I think City can get 86 points, so 87 points could win the league. And I think if we got another 33 points, we're there. So that's that's how I'm looking at it. I think that's all right. I might be a couple of sums out there, but I mean, Arsenal to me are obviously they're in the mix, but they play City they're at home to City on Sunday, and Arsenal's manager seems to be panicking a little bit. He's making excuses even when they win. So we shall see. But what Liverpool's, Graham, I don't discuss.
Okay, all right. Let's talk about atmosphere. How are you feeling that the atmosphere has been this season at Anfield?
I think it's been good overall. Very positive. I know there's criticism online from time to time. It's probably felt more in the Kop. I sit in the main stand, but I think it's been very good.
It was disappointing to hear you're not singing anymore. I think it was the Ipswich game, was it? Yeah.
No, the Lille.
Against
Lille.
Lille.
Oh, was it? Oh, that's right. Yeah. I don't know how that happened or what the reaction was because I wasn't there to the people around whoever was singing that, but I'm hoping they would have got some Scouse honesty.
It happened in the upper main stand.
Okay.
So I can't honestly. It didn't last long. It was maybe.
It
just
came
one
over the
quarter.
TV loud and clear though, which is
I
a
know
disappointing.
it did, but it didn't last long, and so it got a bit of a kicking on Twitter and other social platforms.
Yeah, a bit of it. I thought that was a bit of a cheap shot from the Annie Road. I mean, it's not like the Annie Road of what we remember back in the day.
No.
I think they used to sing "Where the Annie Road Bar Me Army" or something like that.
Yeah.
There used to be a competition, didn't there, between the Kop and the Annie Road at one time in the 70s and early 80s. It would be good if that could return. I think that a lot of it is down to the ticketing policy of the club. For me, there should be more tickets for the local people. The Liverpool people should be more proportionate. It's losing that local fan base, which is, for me, it's very, very dangerous, because Liverpool and its popularity all started from the city. So the more that's kind of diluted, it's not good. I mean, the Man United game, there was actually, my ticket in the main stand backs on to just the start of the hospitality, and there's 4 Man United fans sitting on the front row behind me in hospitality. So I just think, well, how does that happen?
Yeah, well, I've seen that happen before in the past, and this is when it was the old paddock, and it was the day Gerrard got sent off after about 10 seconds of the second half, and there was a lot of Japanese tourists there, and a lot of them were Manchester United fans. But that's the thing. But I think the problem with the atmosphere, I agree with what you're saying about the risk. The club sell tickets on the strength of the Anfield experience, and the Anfield experience is sit in the Anfield Road end or the main stand or the Dogleys stand and look at the Kop. The Kop is the attraction. It's like things to see if you go to Liverpool. The must things. There's the Cavern, there's the Pier Head, and all the rest of it, and there's the Kop, and that is, and the club trade off that. But the club, by charging £500 for a seat
An ordinary meal and a plastic seat. Yeah.
and that's what they do, and but that's where some of the atmosphere goes. But I'd say this: when we played Fulham, I mean the first half we were kicking towards the Annie Road, and it wasn't exactly alive, and Robbo had got sent off. But the second half, yeah, you couldn't hear yourself breathe almost. It really was loud, and when Fulham went 2-1 up, the noise rose. And the team got willed on, which we got a draw, but blimey, our Fulham held on. And one of the Fulham players actually said it was like playing against. It's like we had a 10 man and Liverpool had an extra man. And the noise from the crowd all the while, and
the Madrid game, the Real Madrid game, and the Manchester City game were also really good atmospheres. I mean, that was as good as anything almost in recent years.
Do you think the rail seating on the Kop has helped?
Yeah,
meaning standing is a lot more comfortable now. Yeah, and accepted now again.
Going back to the Real Madrid game, that was the best atmosphere I've tasted at a European game since Barcelona.
Yeah.
So and Real Madrid were. I'm not saying they were frightened, but Real Madrid were wondering what was going on because I mean it was a tackle from Conor Bradley on what's his name, put him almost into the Kenny Dalglish stand, and the ground erupted as one, and that was how it should be. And it's.
I think the fans have definitely, taken the cue or taken it on after Jurgen passed the baton, and the team has played really well at Anfield most of the season, and overall I think the atmosphere has been very good.
Mm-hmm.
Like on Saturday, it was. I'll be honest, it was difficult to stand up and start. Getting yourself because it was so one-sided. As I say, we were playing possession football because you can see the difference between Arne Slot and Jurgen is Jurgen would have sent another 2 forwards on to try and get 6 or 7. Arne thinks, let's keep the ball, let's play it at this pace, and that's how he wants it, and don't get injured. So the shame I've got at the moment is Jota, because I think Jota is, as a player in the penalty area, the 6-yard area and that area, there's nobody better, than him when he's playing. I mean, that goal he scored against Forest, what was he on? 10 seconds, and in the 20 seconds, and he'd scored. But that's what he's like. And he came on against Fulham, and the goal he scored was superb. But it's not there. It's not fit. So moving into the transfer window, maybe we do. If it's a pity we're not going to sign somebody to give us that impetus.
What, up front, John?
Yeah. I think
because Chiesa's looking pretty good when he comes on. He really does some good stuff.
Well, we need to see him. He's coming on when we're comfortable. I want to see him when we're not comfortable. Mind you, against Brentford, he came on when it was 0-0. But,
my big worry is with the contract thing, and I know we don't want to dwell on that because it's all speculation. But of the 3 players, and we all know who they are, that we could lose. I think the one that would be the hardest to replace would be Van Dijk.
Yeah, but to me, like, you can't dwell on the contract because nobody knows what's actually happening.
Yeah.
It's a situation that shouldn't be there.
No.
Manchester City have got Haaland on a contract until about 25, I think it is. And the thing about it is that doesn't mean he's going to stay there until the end of that contract. And the same with Forest have put a player on till 2029. But the thing is with Forest, if somebody comes in, a Real Madrid, even a Manchester City, and says, we're going to give £80 million for him, he goes. And the same with Haaland. The thing is, we've got these 3 players who we will lose for free. That's the difference.
Yeah, it's not good business, is it?
I don't understand that.
No, there's nothing good about it. All right. Well, let's look at something that's coming up. Just before we talk about what is planned, let's go back in time. For anyone who doesn't know, we're going to go back to 1965.
Goals were intact when half-time brought on the Marines. Liverpool fans would have preferred the Beatles, but that would have been taking sides. Leeds kicked off in the second half. In a lively restart, both teams seemed eager to inject a bit more life into the game. So far, the defences had proved too strong for the attack. So they had to play extra time after all. 22 very tired players on a heavy pitch. And now it was all Liverpool. First blood of the match went to Roger Hunt. Inspired by a goal at last, Liverpool tried again, this time without success. But now Leeds hit back. Right half, Billy Bremner equalised. The game seemed back where it started. The second period of extra time, and how everybody at Wembley hoped and prayed for a goal. Ian St. John had a good try, but not quite good enough. Liverpool were lasting better than their opponents. St. John made no mistake this time. So the Marathon Cup final was all over, and Liverpool were the winners. And what a happy man was Ron Yates, leading his team up to the Royal Box. This is the triumph every footballer dreams of. To reach Wembley, they'd beaten West Brom, Stockport, Bolton, Leicester and Chelsea. And now the cup was theirs to take home and make the Mersey beat as it's never done before.
Now, the FA Cup is not what it was then. John, just give us an idea of how big a deal it was in 1965 to win the FA Cup.
I love watching those old news clips of Pathé News, but if you saw when Liverpool had won the cup, the guy standing there behind the policeman with his hat on, his glasses, and he thought he just lost a fiver. You know, he's looking. But I've seen that clip 1,000 times, and more than 1,000 times, and yeah, he always stands out to me. Hands in his pocket, overcoat on, and he's, what am I doing here? And don't know where he got his ticket from, but it cost him seven and six. But I'm sure Graham's dad was in that stadium. I was in that stadium.
Yes, he was.
I didn't see him, by the way, but
okay.
I was in that stadium,
right.
and it was.
Sorry. You mean Graham Stewart's dad was in the stadium? Yeah, my dad was there as well. Sorry, we're getting.
He was there. My dad was there. He used to love talking about that final. That was his, moment of glory. I was born 3 months after that, so I didn't actually see it.
Yeah, it was a year before I was born as well. But so John, you know, because I had a conversation with you this afternoon, John, and I said for me, you know, the big one was 77 in Rome, was a European Cup, and you said to me on the phone this afternoon, no, the 65 FA Cup was bigger than that.
In 1965, the FA Cup in this country, it was teams would have sooner won the FA Cup than the league. That's how it was. That's fans. Fans wanted that one opportunity to go to Wembley Stadium and win the FA Cup.
And it was the only live TV game on game on TV, wasn't it?
not quite. There were others, but that was the main one. That was the only time you'd see two club sides playing.
Right.
They televised internationals and things like that, and some other bits and pieces. But you know, reaching the FA Cup final and then winning the FA Cup, it was sort of, it lifted a burden off the club to start with, because Everton, I think, had won it 3 times at that point, and Liverpool none. So going back to that Worcester game, apparently at the time that was played during the polio epidemic, and somebody had put a poster up in Liverpool saying that Liverpool had beaten polio, and an Evertonian obviously had written it up, but not Worcester. So you know, that's how the FA Cup was viewed. It was absolutely huge, and I believe when Liverpool won the league the year before in '64, and Ron Yates said the reception that the club got, he said, we'll only be beaten by when we win the FA Cup. So that was, even then, you know, as players. I mean, the FA Cup, I can't remember the exact amount of money they got, but they got something like £1,000 to share between them. Now, when they were on £50 a week at the time, maybe. So, you know, sharing another 20 quid a piece, 50 quid a piece, or something like that, 100 quid a piece. Well, you know, it was real wealth. You know, it's today. What does it matter? You know, the FA Cup has now become so secondary. You know, in the third round, teams, not just Premier Division teams, but teams in the lower divisions, will field weakened sides because their concentration is on their league.
Promotion,
now,
yeah.
Promotion, getting it in the Premier League. If you're in the bottom half, it's staying up. If you're in the top, it's getting into Europe. You know, so that's today. But back then, I'm sure Graham's was told by his dad that the FA Cup, it was monumental. You know, you know.
Yeah, no, my dad, exactly, John. My dad was the same. The FA Cup in '65 was always the story, and that he talked about was the pinnacle. He was at the '77 European Cup final against Mönchengladbach in Rome, lifting the European Cup for the first time. But he'd always talk about the first time Liverpool won the cup, and then I went. I was fortunate enough to go with him to the '74 Cup final against Newcastle. I think it was only eight at the time, and I mean, you know, that stayed in my memory for a long, long time. Getting the tube, the underground to Wembley with hordes of Geordie fans singing "Away the Lads," with black and white scarves around their wrists, and very, very loud and quite intimidating. I was only a kid then. And then, you know, watching us, my dad was talking about the way that Malcolm MacDonald and some of the Newcastle fans were talking up the chances before the game, and they thought that they'd beat Liverpool, and you know, they hardly got a kick, Newcastle. And we played a brilliant.
Got 1-2 kicks, but it wasn't of the ball.
Yeah, we played a brilliant game. Scored some superb goals. My dad swears that Alec Lindsay's goal should have been.
It was offside, wasn't it? Yeah, ruled out. Yeah,
but it was. But the FA Cup was huge, and it lifted the burden off the club. I think Ian St John said he couldn't believe that Liverpool had been in existence. What was it? Nearly 70 years, and had never won the FA Cup. They'd only been to 2 finals, and the first one was in 1914. And the strange thing is, there was people in that stadium in 1965 who possibly went to that first final. That was, you know, you try and think about that. You know, I'm now of the age where I'm approaching 79, and I can remember being at that. So. You know, if Liverpool win something this year, I think, well, I was at the 65. I was there when it all started. But it's just...
Yeah. I went to the last 2 3 cup finals, the 2 League Cup finals where we beat Chelsea, and also obviously the FA Cup. I think the atmosphere has been excellent, and that's all been down to the Liverpool fans who have really made Wembley like it was back in the day. Anfield away, like the second home. Really enjoyed the League Cup final last March with all the kids playing, and then the two cup finals in 2022, which we deserved to win both of them, even though they were on penalties. But the atmosphere has been superb, and I think the same for the semi-finals as well. It's been the Liverpool fans that have made the atmosphere. So for me, that is really heartening and positive. It's taken on a new era, and I hope it can continue like that.
Yeah, but the idea we're going to have is we're going to on May the 1st, and the idea is to use the Reds bar.
And May the 1st was the day. May the 1st, 65 was the So May the 1st, 2025 is the actual day. See, the actual day.
And it's the Reds bar. I think they call it Reds, and it's on Exchange Street, which is where the old Exchange station used to be. It looks a very good venue, and we're trying to do, using people like George Scott, the Lost Shankly boy, George Sefton, everybody knows George, and a few other people, is to try and recreate something, and we're calling it the Bootleg Beat Leeds. Now, the reason that is because in the Echo at the time, in 1965, they actually put something on the back using the Beatles, obviously, but it was Beat Leeds, and it was all one word. And the T was, how the Beatles had got the T on the drum. So we're going to call there is the band, the Bootleg Beatles, although they're probably quite old now. The idea is to do that. I'll just show you this. That's the idea.
Right. Yeah, like it, John. Yeah.
Very good.
And on the back page of this is what was in the Echo at the time.
Just tilt it forward, John. There you go. Now lift it. Just lift it straight up. Hail the Beat Leeds. Oh, I see. And they've got them with the guitars.
There's a little sketch of Jimmy Tarbuck. So, but that's the idea. Sadly, the vast majority of that team are no longer with us. But we want to try and get people who were part of the club then.
Callie is still around because we did that night with him in Southport.
Yeah, well, Callie and Chris Lawler are definitely around. But we're going to try and get them. And George Scott's going to speak to these people. I'm saying George Sefton, I'm going to ask to try and get in touch with one or two of the old any musicians that were around from there. Sadly, I don't think Paul McCartney is available.
We could ask him.
We can ask him, but I think he might be busy. And Ringo the same. But there's one or two others. We'll see what we can do on that.
And you never know if they're available. It'd be lovely to have the families of the players, because we've had some of the families of those players from that team at other Red All Over the Land events, haven't we? I mean, I think the first one we did at Hotel Anfield, we had Shankly's granddaughter. Didn't we have Roger Hunt's daughter at the Phil Thompson night?
We've had the Ronnie Moran, Tommy Lawrence, and all of these. The spread of families, Chris Lawler's family, and that. So we want to try and get them together again. And the idea is to do this, and then it's only its infancy. The idea, because it was sort of like discussed today.
Yeah. So, okay. Oh, you were down there today, weren't you, to talk to them?
Yeah. They had to hurry off because they were going to Eindhoven.
Okay. Right. Okay.
But that's the plan, and it will be Thursday, May the 1st, and I've already booked in David Jaggs.
Oh yeah, David Jaggs to do the music. Yeah, he's great from the Ragamuffins. Yeah.
And you to do the show host.
Oh yeah, I'll host it. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So we hope that Graham and members of the organisation can come along. We'll be.
Oh yeah, we'd love to. We'd love to get some tickets for that, John.
Yeah. And what we're going to do is, say, everything's in its infancy, but the idea is to get a replica FA Cup and then do the envelope draw, as we call it, where people put £10 in an envelope and we draw it out. Whoever, at the very end of the night, whoever wins that takes the FA Cup home with them.
Yeah,
Once
so somebody
done that.
So on the anniversary of Liverpool winning the FA Cup, you could actually win the FA Cup.
That's the idea. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's brilliant, John. All right. Well, as you say, that's the very embryonic stage, that one. You'll keep us up to date as we get closer to the 1st of May for that one. It's been great talking to you, Graham. Thanks for coming on Red All Over YouTube with your memories, some of your dad's memories as well. Continued success with the business and everything. And John, continued success for another 30 years of Red All Over the Land. Yeah.
That might be a struggle, Graham. But I just want to say this. I will say, Graham and the other people that have sponsored us this year, that's why we can keep the cost of the fanzine at £2. And, we want to do a lot more. We want to, on this May the 1st, we want to try and support Zoe's Place and, of course, the community basket.
Community basket, yeah.
Yeah, who, with the money that we gave them last time, have actually paid to have electricity installed in their property. So
great, because if you don't know, they're working hard to reduce food poverty in the L4 area. So that's great. Yeah,
and we'll give a shout out now for Taxi One, who have started selling the fanzines. They run from just outside the museum, and they fill their taxis. They only charge £2 per person to go in the taxi, and wait till they've got 6 people in, and they bring you up to Anfield, drop you off at the King Harry, and you can book a trip back. So beat the queues, as they call it.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Graham Stewart, John Pearman. Thank you. Until next time, remember, no worries at all. Remember, you'll never walk alone.